Hey y'all, I made this video for a reason. Okay, so I know you've figured out by now if you watched me or been with me for a while, you know I'm constantly asking questions, constantly. Okay, so I'm in here working on the Juneteenth 2025 dress, right? And this is what I decided to listen to. You heard some of it, but I give you a clip of another one, so you can kind of understand the zone and the vibe that I went to while creating. I play this stuff, so it's kind of my playlist of the dress. Okay, listen, this is one of them. If you know, you know. I don't have to play anymore, and I don't want my video muted. Right? So my parents would say something that didn't make sense to me, and I would have a question about it. Of course, I didn't ask my parents because I didn't want to bother them, but it did bother me. So, like, someone would ask them for money, and they'll be like, "These my last $2," or "These my last $5," or "This my last $10." And for years, I was annoyed because I'm like, why are you telling them it's the last of your money? Just if you're gonna loan it to them, loan it to them, or don't give them the money. If you don't want to give them the money, don't guilt them with this my last $2. And my mom she was notorious for saying that mess. Okay, well these you can come, but these my last $2, or this my last $10, or this my last $20, right? And I'm talking about I was a little girl, just aggravated hearing her say my last $2. Well, I'm in here, and what the playlist does, it automatically adds songs to the queue while you're listening because your hands are busy, of course, while you're doing something. And so this is what showed up on my playlist, y'all. Hold on, before I forget, I did make some artwork to go along with this video. I hope that you enjoyed them. The first one, it is from the 70s. I did create that artwork. It's not as detailed, but I did want to throw some artwork in there for you real quick. So listen to this. Hold on. Come on, where you at? It's a song. My last $2. That's a song by Johnny Taylor. You see that? It's an actual song by Johnny Taylor. Last $2. I'm almost 50 and didn't know that was an actual song by someone. Listen, hurry up, Johnny Taylor, and get to the part. See, I ain't trying to get my stuff muted playing with them. His last $2. So all of this time they've been quoting Johnny Taylor. I didn't know. Now, personally, y'all know I love Disco Lady. That is one of my bops. Every time I hear it, I don't care where I'm at. When I hear it, I'm going to get up and dance to it. Period. Point blank. Like, no question. So this one right here is an 80s retro motif that I created. You can tell that I rushed with it because you'll see that all of the images are kind of blurring into themselves instead of being very detailed as they are with this one. There's space between them. You're able to see their shapes, you're able to see their expressions, their hands, and all of that. The clothing look realistic. Everyone has on something different, but it's appropriate for that era. Right. So we're talking about 70s. And then I did this one, and I wanted it to be more of a lounge or a hall somewhere. Everybody got together and it's not as formal, as they would be in the 80s. In the 80s, they took a shift in the industry, and in fashion, they became very formal about their outings when they would go out to party, hang out. They started wearing tuxedos, they started wearing evening gowns. So it went from this look. And the only time you really recall hearing about, Black people being in formal wear in the 70s, it really had to be a formal occasion. Or, like some be like pimps dress a certain way, real gregarious, outlandish, bombastic. And it's true, but they did have those times when you look at their different pictures. But for the most part, the pictures look like this or it's a suit. In the 80s, we saw a shift. We saw the shift. Men started wearing, and I like how they styled the different Jerry curls differently for each guy because they were all looks in the 80s, like all of them. I love how I made sure they gave the women a red lip and did distinct eyeshadow because that's what I remember from that era. Suits, tuxedos with the cummerbund, sequin, regular bow ties were a big deal, and people actually went to clubs dressed like that. I'm not kidding you, in the 80s. And it was a beautiful thing to see because you would see Black people really, really stepping out. I mean, they came with what they call now the drip, and they were dripping. Okay. So, and that's another thing. Let me add this too. The quality of their costume jewelry, or what we would call fake jewelry, it was on a caliber that they are nowhere near that now. Days like it's very obvious when you're looking at fake pieces. When people wearing, you can look at them and be like, "Oh, that's fake," or that came from Shein or some Fashion Nova or something. And you can look at it. Back then, they were wearing costume jewelry. They were, but the quality of it was real. It was really good because they had real metals. They were heavy pieces. They were doing the settings appropriately. If you go down, look at what is it? LA Hollywood Divas or something like that with Countess Vaughn and Golden Brooks and all of them. If you go to look at their most recent season, reunion, you will see that one of them have a friend come on there and they're supposed to be a stylist. And you can look at their neck and their hand and tell that no question came from Sheen. I wouldn't even put that on a beauty supply store because you can still tell he had some little dirty dust glass or something. And you can always tell by those settings. You can look at them because they end up snagging all over their clothes too. The settings are so ridiculous and horrible that I feel bad for them. They be walking and stuff, and you can see where it's starting to pick their clothes. But anyway, back then they didn't have that problem. Oh no, it was hard to test their costume jewelry, but you couldn't tell the difference really. You really could. And they had opulent pieces. They were big on opulence and being as I mean, they made a statement when they walked in a room, and that was the whole theme for the 80s. It was boom, as soon as I walk in the door. It wasn't a build up, it was bam, I'm here. You feeling it, I'm a whole vibe. I look good, I look good. Get over here and buy me a drink. But I did want to create an image right here in particular, where you had a chance to see how men used to be very, 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 very well dressed. I mean, they were stepping out too. Nowadays, it's more so the women and the guys showing up with tennis shoes on, pants sagging down, and all of that. And the women are in pumps and they have on these little tiny, tiny dresses. And no, it wasn't that way in the 80s. They actually matched each other when they walked into a room or into a space, and they both were given pressure. Everybody wanted to be with your woman, and everybody wanted to be with your man. That was their thing back in the 80s. So I did kind of want to slide that in here, and I specifically made these images for the discussion about me not knowing that my mom was saying last $2, $5, $10 because it's an actual song by Johnny Taylor, which I didn't. Johnny Taylor is my song. That Disco Lady song, I don't care where I'm at, I'm going to dance to it every single time. Every time. Every time. Because that's just, I don't know. It just seemed to be my song. But anyway, um I'm just tickled because I am almost 50 and I'm just now realizing that came from a song because I kept wondering why are they saying that? Why are they telling people they don't have any more money? If you don't want to give it to them, just don't give it to them. Don't tell them. I was rationalizing it and trying to understand them at the same time, but I thought y'all would get a kick out of that. That's what we get for trying to come up with grown people answers because they were speaking their lingo for adults. I had no business questioning it. But of course, I'm very curious. So I had questions. That's been my problem for a very long. I always have a question. I'm curious. I want to know something. The only way you're going to ask no is if you ask. And so that's what I did. But I didn't do, excuse me. But now I understand. It was a good idea that I didn't ask because for certain I would have gotten on my parents' nerves walking up to them. Why do you keep telling people that's your last $5? Why do you keep walking? Why do you keep telling people that's your last $2? Don't tell people you don't have any more money. Why do you keep telling people that's your last $10? If you don't want to loan it to them, don't loan it to them, mom. And she was the only one who could handle my incessant questioning. She was the only one who could handle it, and she did it so well. And I think that's why the habit stuck because she never scolded me for doing it. She would just find a very wise way to answer me, and then that would satisfy me, and I go on about my business. But if I had questions again, I'm coming back. But yeah, but I thought y'all would find that funny. Child, next time something dawn on me again, I'm gonna come back and tell y'all. But like I said, I'm working on this Juneteenth 2025 dress. I've been working on that dress since July. I finished my cousin's wedding dress, and she had her wedding. Oh my goodness, that was some weeks ago. But I finished her wedding dress. I just did a little bit at a time, just bit by bit by bit by bit. But I started as soon as she told me she was getting married, and I just went in straight into design mode. And what I did do, I should have showed y'all more from that process, but I was just doing it when I had time. But I'm gonna tell you how I was able to make a very unique dress for her. I purchased and I paid a lot of money. It's not your normal pattern because anyway, when you get wedding or formal wear patterns from Vogue, they're going to be expensive no matter what. They're gonna be $50, $60 just for the pattern by itself. But what I did was I ordered vintage Vogue formal dress patterns. And I put those patterns together a specific way based on her size, her body, her personality. And that's how I created her dress. That's how I did it. And so she looked so pretty. It was age appropriate. It was elegant, but it's 100% her personality, and it reflects how far she's come, and how much we absolutely love her and are proud of her. So um, I didn't even think about it, child. Finished the wedding dress and I paid for the decorations as far as the flowers and stuff, and I made the arrangements for those. And when people find out you know how to do stuff, they be lining up. Can you do mine? So I'm doing a wedding centerpiece. I created a pattern so people know how to follow it and create stunning centerpieces themselves with their own themes, and me telling them which supplies are best, which supplies to avoid. So it's kind of like the best way to think of it, it's arrangement mapping. You can't just go in and just throwing stuff everywhere. There is a system to it. There's a way to design it, and it's structured right, it's balanced properly, and it creates something that's memorable. depending on your table, what you're going for. It's not so distracting that your guests can't see one another across the table. There's a way to uh, be able to create something stunning and jaw dropping, and you don't necessarily have to obstruct the view of your guests at your wedding or your reception. There is a way to do it, and it's very simple. But most people think bigger is better. Well, it's not. If your arrangement prevent your guests from being able to truly enjoy your event. And the problem too, people get round tables because they're cheaper, which is true, but they don't know how to create arrangements for a round table. So what do? They go get some long, tall arrangements, centerpieces, and it obstructs the view of your guests. So anywho, but I'm doing that for someone. They have a wedding coming up, but yeah, she still had to pay me for that. She not related to me, so you got to pay for stuff like that. I ain't gonna give that to you for free. No, 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 no. You're not related to me, so you know. No, but she's very thankful though. I did a demo with her in real time to show her how I create what I call the braid stem arrangement. When you look in the vase, instead of it looking like it's going in a circular motion or look like they just pressed down in there straight, I created a method to make it literally look like those stems have been braided together in the vase. So when you look at it, you realize the stems look braided, and that's just a system I created, and it's very beautiful, and no one else knows how to do it because it's something I started doing and everyone loves it, when they come in my house and see my arrangements and stuff. So yeah, I call it the braid method in vases, and it's beautiful. No matter what kind of stems I'm using, I can do it with any stems. You name it, I can do it. But it looks best with rose stems, dahlias, and things like that. Lilies, not so much because lilies, take up a lot of space by themselves too. And by the way, if you're having an event and you want the guests to feel like they smell your flowers, or at least it smell like a flower, all I can say is one word: lilies. Lilies. And I'm not talking about the flower. You can get some faux lilies. I can tell you where to get those. But what you do is you go and you're going to have your foam and your build out, and you take some essential oil and you diffuse it into that foam. Then when your guests are sitting there, it has a scent like those arrangements are real. You're welcome. All right, I'm off the bed with these last $2. Good night. Bye.